Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Okay. Approval of last month's minutes?
So,
Discussion? All in favor? Liaison comments.
I just have one quick comment. Bob Fry, the Town of Highlands manager, mentioned to me last week that the water line running from the Town of Highlands to Queen Mountain on Highway 28 is on their priority list of being repaired. So you need to jolly discuss it. You want me to- That's all I've got to say.
Public comments?
I think
Media?
we're all looking at Carl. What he's doing here.
All right, it's a new business. Review and discuss the comprehensive plan. I think Matt sent that out to everybody. In that email. You want to accept me? Karen?
does everybody have that? Yeah, Justin and I talked about it. First of all, I'd like to mention that this is updated now. That's a handout I gave you. That's all of our new members and contact information, and everybody is still on the webpage. I think that was a question last time. The comprehensive plan talks about on page 15, 16, and 17 about sewer and water, and some basically history from the town of Highlands and what their customer service in the town of Franklin. The recommendations that came out of the comprehensive plan for public sewer was to take steps to ensure that the sewer system is at adequate capacity in advance of the need. At that time, they were 70% capacity. At 70% capacity, they began planning for future expansion into 80 to 90% of the capacity, and to secure funding to implement an expansion plan construction of a new facility. And then, of course, it says in number 2, second recommendation for that is consider the impacts that the future extension of the sewer system will have on the rural character of Macon County. Said you had some changes from the town.
Yeah, there were some numbers in there that are not correct and will probably be increased for the town of Franklin. On the second line, it said there was 3,400 customers. It's actually got the exact number, 3,528 is the total customers, and the maximum capacity of the water plant is not 4 million gallons per day, it's 2 million gallons per day. So that number was obviously way off by when this came out. And then under sewer, talking about the town of Franklin was undergoing an infiltration study, and that has been completed. There is 2,366 customers on sewer.
2,362.
Yep. And so that study's been completed, and there has been some repairs done to the sewer plant that since didn't allow any more flow to it, but just made it run more efficient. And that was from
What's the current progress of the plan now? What are they planning future expansion for the water plant?
They've had some discussion on expanding it, but that's still a ways off. It's nothing that's gonna happen in a year or so.
Tell us what's happened with the infiltration study and reporting to the plan, that it was clear there was quite a bit of infiltration because of increases after everything involved. Whether those,
I don't have any of this.
are sites being repaired, is there an ongoing get this as we can, or you know, or do you just not know what's happening with that?
I don't know anything on infiltration. I haven't got that much into depth in it yet. But honestly, they're just repair stuff as it comes in.
Justin provided us with 2 sheets that I handed out, with the blue and the green line. Those are maps provided by Justin on this showing the correlation between the water and sewer lines throughout the town limits into the ECJ. And then there's a couple lines that go into the county.
So the blue is the water.
The blue is the water, and the green is the septic for the sewer. And then the sewer off of the red squares, that's the pump station, is that right?
Yeah, that's the sewer pump station. And I've also, I didn't bring a bunch of them, there's quite a few pages, but I brought quite a few copies of the town of Franklin's water and sewer extension policy for people that want to look at. It was just, goes about the whole extension and everything.
Matt, can you give us a copy of that?
Yeah.
Can you send me
Yeah, I can be good. And we'll pass them down to them and look at.
what's the purpose of this?
It's just the standards of what, if it is extended, and it just lays out everything.
Can you give us some landmarks for the water and sewer? Kind of where they're going to?
Yeah.
Yeah, just so we have an idea how far we're going.
Well, obviously, the water's pretty much all throughout the city limits. There's probably some places where you don't see that kind of out the, like the Car City section of 441, going north on Silver Road, and there's no water out there, but you've got all the way out Lake Emery to the
That's
Ford
Franklin
dealership.
Ford there, the upper corner.
You've got it, you've got it to the new Walmart, you've got it all the way down the Georgia Road to just past the Welcome Center, all through Patton Valley, but not wide. And then out 64, out the old Murphy Road to Mill Creek. And then I think it goes up into Macon Forest. And then, of course, it goes out 28. Sewer goes to
Not
Job.
water, right?
Yeah, just sewer goes to Job Court. And then the water goes, of course, north to out River Bend to, I think, Lake Shore. And of course, there's just a new line they put in on Swiss Colony, there's water all throughout Swiss Colony. I believe that one was a partnership with the county.
So the one that goes to Walmart, that goes to the 2 schools also?
That's right here. That's this one right here.
And all of this is owned by Franklin. The town of Franklin owns all of this.
Some I think actually is county, which I think is.
It's a huge debate.
That's I think there's been some discussion about that.
See, the town collects the revenues off of them, but for some reason the county still owns them, so
Yeah.
the county's still stuck with repairing them.
We put them in, maintain them, don't get the time off of them.
Yeah.
So where did you say 28 north?
Yeah, that's right.
It turns on 28 at Riverbend, it goes out Riverbend to Lake Shore.
This little finger to the southeast, does that go into the water tank? Past South Macon?
No, that's White Horizon.
No, you're talking about the very south.
I'm sorry, the southwest.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah, that goes down to South Macon School. And then
Number water
think
tanks.
You see where South Macon Court is up at the end of, that's
That's where
the
those
park.
apartments.
The hydrant right there, that's what we want.
How far is that wide ride?
The water line, it goes out there to that subdivision, it's marked at Terry Dalton's.
Oh, yeah, okay. I just forgot, I was reading that.
And then on 64 East, it goes to Farm Bureau.
Yeah, it goes to just about Farm Bureau and looks out or not Bellevue, but Bellevue, yeah, it goes out to Bellevue a little way. I think till about the little church there on Bellevue. It's
We've
not.
got a hydrant right there, that passes through.
And the folder has it.
That's it. Sewer's pretty much the same sort of thing, this
Yeah, sewers, quite a bit the same, there's some places, now there are some places inside the town there is sewer, but it's not, it's private sewer, you know, a subdivision put in the line of the town. It was just private, it was put in, I know, there's one right there off of, West Main. There's a little subdivision, and it's all private in there, it's actually, I think it's on Styles Drive, it's one little area.
But now the sewer line, it goes to the job, corps. It goes all the way.
Yeah, it goes to the job corps. And, goes into Mill Creek, see, now there's sewer off of Mill Creek, but it's all Mill Creek's
It's private.
private system, but then it connects into the town's system as well. You can see, and this is actually, this map includes the new lines that they just put in, that went out the bypass and through the rec park, down by Depot Street, that new line, it's shown it as well. It goes down, follows the Greenway.
Now, this doesn't show the one that goes to the middle school.
Yeah, I don't know if that was,
We got that.
yeah, I don't know if that was a town one or private or how, I don't know about that one. Look on the map.
So in Mill Creek has their own lines and they just dump it down Franklin system.
Yeah, they had it.
They maintain the lines and all the pump stations, but the town streets.
Yeah, they've got a pretty elaborate system in the whole subdivision. I'm saying, you've got sewer, it goes, it actually goes, I believe, it actually might go a little bit, it actually goes just further than water. It goes just a little bit past Morrison Church Road. It goes past Morrison Church Road down into, I guess what would be Bedford Street, kind of.
Yeah, that pump station's at the south end, is what I'm saying.
I can put these up on the website, or we can email them out, get them decide if we want to expand them more. Now, as far, I think the next map is the County Highlands. And they have actually put a lot of time and energy into this. The legend on the right-hand side is color-coded by diameter of pipe size. So you can show water lines all their water lines are in from 1 inch to 12-inch lines. It shows valves, hydrants, and then the sewer lines in green. Josh had emailed it to me, but he couldn't make it today. Do you know anything about this, Jimmy or Bill?
Probably not near as much as he does, but John and I could probably decipher it out if anybody had any questions.
Which line were you saying they were looking?
It's the one on the very bottom of the page on the Walhalla Road that runs out of the colored city limits portion and goes south.
The orange and black line, the 2-inch line?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's gonna be an upgrade.
Yeah, it runs actually, that's probably one of the only, I think there's a couple lines that run out of the city limits, and that's one of them. They're having some leak issues, it's just time for that to be repaired, so they're starting to investigate grants. And, so I think that was just one of the items that the planning board to consider. That's probably going to be one of their priorities.
Sitting right there on there by the landfill.
Actually, right past the landfill, it's obviously for them. That's correct.
The town of Highlands, is their rate structure for customers outside the city limits very similar to Franklin as far as
I believe it is.
probably about double what it would be if you were in town and that kind of thing?
Is that correct, John?
Yes.
And there's a big line showing, I guess, showing the 12-inch line going straight up on the map. That's the one that feeds the hospital.
Jimmy, what's all the water lines, is that in, Osage Boulevard?
On the right,
Upper
corner,
right, yeah.
that's Highlands Falls Country Club. And Cullis Agent, yeah. You're right, it's some of that. All that area is in Jackson County.
Time frame.
For now.
You all could get some advice from Crimea.
Is that part of what you-
You want me, we should have put a valve, cut them off for a couple of weeks. If you see Matt, tell him thank you. This thing's amazing.
Josh?
Who's the GA?
Matt
Is that
Schuler. Matt Schuler.
Oh.
Josh was just my inside.
Josh was the inside.
Yeah. I can't, I mean, that's amazing as far as their utility people there. I'm sure they're glad to have something like that.
So we have any additional thoughts on these maps or any questions or is it all straightforward?
But anything other than one of three maps is all private in Macon County.
Yeah.
What year did we do the comprehensive plan?
It says April 26, 2011, so it's probably done in,
Probably started.
in 11.
You know, I read through some of that stuff. Some of the conclusions, particularly about lock the boat too much, or didn't want to stir up a problem with the growth having slowed already, you know, and put a burden on taxpayers. But this is the future where you want your growth to go. I think that comes out of the comprehensive plan pretty well.
Justin, the public water utilization per day, is that accurate, 1.1 to 1.2 million?
Yes, ones that are still very close.
And your capacity is 2 million. Wow.
As I recall, you gotta start planning to do something different when you're using consistently 70% of your capacity.
Yeah, and they start, I think once they get to 80 or 90, then it's, you gotta have it quick pretty much.
That's a good spot or something like that.
Chris, do we have anything on the books planning on extending this all the way to the Georgia line? Rayburn County's putting theirs all the way through, and we stand a chance to get a new business down, several on that end of town. And there's some pretty good properties down there that could be built on if they had the water and sewer. Have we got anything in the making, anybody know that? Walmart is fixing to spread their stores out like the Dollar General out in the community. and they're looking for places to put those stores. Instead of having them all in town, they're gonna space about more of them in the communities. And they will be looking.
We put one in Cowie's.
Oh, yeah, that'd be real nice, to really look forward to have it at school.
Put it in our school.
They built one in Pikeville, North Carolina. If it can support in Pikeville, it can go to Cowee, I can promise.
That's kind of what I was alluding to, you know, we didn't want to rock the boat. That, where you put the water and sewer, the growth will come, the first thing Walmart will look at is where the water and sewer is, and then they'll back into what sites are suitable, I think.
We
Well, I
lost a lot of stores down there, Home Depot, Walmart was looking to go right at the Georgia line between the two to make the super Walmart. We've lost a lot of stores here due to lack of water and sewer in that area.
A lot of that's just because the town owns, you know, they pretty much have to say so on water and sewer. Hopefully, the next few years will change that in the county, and the town can sit down and see what it needed for everybody. I think that's sort of where we're at.
Well, as part of the mission of, you know, what we're looking at right now is to try to identify areas where future growth might be advisable. And is that's what we're going to try to do, or?
I think absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not just with water and sewer, that's with everything we talked about last time.
And you started to read that in there in the comprehensive plan, the thing about extending water and sewer to you know, where the community can support it, you know, where
It
it's
says consider
appropriate.
the impact future extensions of the sewer system will have on rural character of Macon County.
Yeah.
Extend the system only to those areas capable of supporting commercial or large-scale residential development.
I know in a lot of areas, they use something they call either urban growth boundaries or urban service boundaries to set up ahead of time the areas that they will consider extending sewer and water in the future, rather than shooting off here and there in response to you know, growth that happens to occur. And it doesn't mean it has to be, you know, like a circle around the town, but you define your areas of expansion and draw some boundaries so that people know where that's going to be and can locate their businesses, you know, and keep it like that. I think it would be that having, it would look something like one of these maps, but with a boundary around it where appropriate expansion might be. I think
Well, that was, something actually was started before Derek started in town, before he left. He's worked on a growth zone policy for the town, which was in a sense incorporate a lot of the ETJ, and then a little bit further out, you know, and you know, that would be in a sense the goal of the town. That would be like their top priority, where they would put their water. But none of that was ever, it was all recommendations, and nothing was ever adopted, or hasn't been adopted yet. But
I know Tennessee has mandatory requirement for urban area, or for towns to have those projected growth boundaries. Because the state invests a lot of money in the, you know, water and sewer expansion too, and so they want programs to be kind of consistent, thought out, not just helter skelter. And they require those certain growth boundaries or urban service boundaries for all towns.
Now, I would assume that sewer is the more restricted. I mean, you can drill a well from Virginia where you get water for a Walmart or where it needs. Sewer is the biggest hindrance to development. Would that not be correct?
That's absolutely correct.
And what capacity is Franklin right now on their sewer?
He didn't change it much.
1.2 million?
Yeah.
So it's 1.2 out of 2, so it's at 55%.
You're almost there.
Yeah, and then you know, obviously, you have to pump that uphill and it has to be treated. If you're talking about doing expansion and where to develop, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be right around Franklin and work off the same system.
Yeah.
I mean, you could create a whole new system somewhere else. If 441 was the corridor, but you want it to concentrate on, because that's where all the traffic is, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to tie into their existing system. You can create a whole new system closer to the border of Georgia and work back this direction. So.
Well, the other thing is like Highlands and Scalet, you know,
Right.
you wouldn't necessarily have to bring a line all the way from
Right.
Highland.
Right.
Show them between somewhere south of town, 441 south on the scale.
Right, figure out something.
In yours, there's some rules about a certain number of people on the well system, the water, a lot of testing requirements and things like that, which could be, that might not bother you and me to put up a convenience store and have a well, but Walmart, I don't know, that could be an issue.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, I don't
But
know
then
what
you
the
just
rules
do-
are, but that might be something interesting to.
But it's not something that requires
No.
a huge amount of land. I mean, you start
Oh, no.
trying to put in a large
Right.
Walmart or something like
Right.
that. That's not a good example because their bathroom facilities aren't that
Right.
heavy users. But if you did something that required a lot of bathrooms, then you have to have a lot of extra land for your septic tanks. So,
And a lot of your big commercial businesses require water and sewer both.
Do we have any idea what percentage of these corridors might be developed?
What we could do is overlay, I can get this from Justin, overlay something on it. That's something to look at.
Well, it's just if you look at this 441 South and you've only developed 10% of that corridor, then what's the point of even considering going further south?
To me, personally, my cutoff is the red light, adding the bridge. To me, that's the end of the business district for the town. Now, there's a lot of businesses below that, south of that, but just in my mind, what I feel is that, there's a lot, many businesses now, and even auto, you can consider that something different.
Do we have any idea what size these lines are on Franklin systems? And I don't know if it matters, Jimmy, didn't y'all have a meeting with SCC this week about expanding? Will that require bigger lines outside the road or more capacity than what's currently available there?
Good question.
I mean, on the water, the water lines, they range from, I think the water line from front of like where Bridgehaven is a 16-inch line or something huge. And then it ranges all the way down to 2-inch to a lot of your little lines around town, 4-inch, a lot of them 4 and 6-inch. But knowing exactly, Jay Gibson would know which ones are, what size they're where, but I haven't evolved our system into knowing what it is on the map, what is where.
Yeah,
Sewer, I'm not sure on what side of the water.
I think that hopefully the sewer line outside the road would be sized to accommodate whatever anybody's gonna do, because there's several more acres of land out there, and the assumption be that they continue to grow, so. I don't think they tied Walmart into that line, do they? Did they cross the river with
They came up the,
Clark Chapel?
Depot Street.
So that would use the capacity on the side.
And then show the sewer line.
I don't even show the Walmart side.
It comes down to Depot Street, that way, down the mountain, down to, it's going out back toward the concrete, back down the river there, soccer field, over the pump station.
So
I
were
think they
there,
go down to the zigzag.
Well, one thing I think is going to be important to is the traffic flow. I think we should go to the DOT. I mean, I was told there was 14,000 cars a day travel 441 from into North Carolina from Georgia. Well, I mean, that's very important. 441 is very important.
That's the biggest, the intersection of McDonald's is the biggest intersection in the county, it's between 14 and 15,000. You gotta look at that way you
Like Chris said, it'd be interesting to see, you got that line that goes to the visitor center. How much of that's being used, how much of the property that is adjacent to the line has actually been developed, so, or what's available to be developed. Is it too steep to be developed? Is it too wet to be developed? I mean, what can the capacity, what can that area hold for new business?
And now, as far as the water line down there, that tank that's at the welcome center, I think it's not even online right now. It's not even used. I
Just
mean,
like with these.
No, I'm just thinking capacity of the land. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
swamplands on the side of the road, and that's never gonna be developed, so you don't have to worry about the
They
capacity.
could overlay something like that. In relation to that.
I think it would be helpful to understand how much of that's actually usable and what's being used
That's commercial.
as commercial land. You know, and likewise, I think what Jim's question is, what's the capacity of the line itself? You know, if that were to become developed, is a line.
Is it already full or is it temperature?
Right, exactly.
And if we're looking at that, and Chris, you've spoken about this before, but there are different ways to manage corridor development too. And I think we need to consider different types of corridor development and, you know, how that might be. I mean, access obviously becomes problematic for a while if you've got, it really gets development on that kind of thing as well. I'm not sure whether this is the place to mention it or not, but it's recently come to my attention, and I think Matt knows about it too, that Raven County is, with the old Fruit of the Loom plant, they're getting ready to change their, the license from commercial to municipal water treatment. And so they're going to make upgrades to that water system, which will actually be beneficial. But I think Macon County needs to stay really on top of what's going on there in northern Raven, because obviously they have the headwaters of the Middle Tennessee. And one of the big issues is interbasin transfer. And they had been doing some small interbasin transfers there in moving water. They're going to end that type of interbasin transfer. But in the future, I mean, that could be an absolutely huge impact on Macon County with Raven County controlling the headwaters of the Middle Tennessee and what they take out and what they put back in. So as we're looking at water, I think we need to really be paying attention to Raven County as well. And Jimmy, I know that Jenny Sanders, who was the former director of the Middle Tennessee Watershed Association, she sent some information out to some of the commissioners about this changes in the water system in Macon County. And so really all I'm saying is we need to be keeping up with it, be aware of it, and know how it affects Macon County and weigh in on that when we have.
I remember that paperwork coming out, but I don't remember the specific details or dates.
Are there any other corridors in the Franklin map that went out? Obviously, there's the new sporting complex.
That's what Chris and I was talking, maybe we look at 441 South, out to the new vet complex west, and then up the Silver Road around for the Ford Place, you know, like that. You know, 28 North, probably not. Something like that.
Or Highland Road.
No, I wouldn't want to push too much more.
No.
But then you've got the road through like 106, from Scalar, Highland, Monto, Scalar, and all that. The
All
other
those corridors.
I don't want to influence y'all's discussion at all over your one list. I think it might be nice, whenever it does go to commissioners, to have maybe a priority list. This area is important to get this, and this, and here's the reasons why.
justify.
Yeah, justify, and here's the second area, this, why. I just think it might be a nice way to sell it, so to speak.
So with that being said, maybe we do what Susan suggested and try to outline areas so a business can expect future growth in an area. And maybe start laying the groundwork when we go.
And it's like Johnson, you might have 14,000 cars a day going to Georgia, but if you're at capacity on that line, your growth might be somewhere else, or vice versa.
Maybe move your growth, force it somewhere else.
Or plans to do these things.
if you have a piece of property, I mean, I don't know if y'all know this, how much does it increase the value of a piece of property in Macon County that has water and sewer?
It's probably double
Particularly for commercial purposes.
commercial purposes. Commercial has been at a standstill for the last few years, but there's so little left that it's really gonna be at a premium when the growth starts back up. And 441, we've probably got more usable property in that direction than anywhere. And another point that I have been getting some emails and some stuff about from investors and stuff is Scaly Mountain. They've got it pointed for the next residential growth section of the county.
Well, it's got, I mean, me being from Scaling, it's got elevation, it's close to Highlands, it's rural, it doesn't have Dollar Generals and stuff like that in it. Not yet. No, I don't think we fight that. Maybe we can come together to fight that one. But it does have there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of open land there that would be good for residential, and then that 106 corridor right through that, the passive lane is got a lot of commercial there. Problem is water and sewer there.
Yes,
Most
ma'am.
of those buildings in there have problems with water and they have problems with sewer. Mine being one.
But it's something we need to put out there because the residential, Highlands is pretty well at capacity of houses and things. And people that just wants to come here are looking at that area and Tuckasegee in Jackson County right now. That's where they're looking instead of the built-up areas.
Bill, do you know how many vehicles go through 106 road?
5 is what I've heard. The last one I saw was in 2012, and it was before the turn off to Sky Valley. It was at that, I can't remember, that first curve, and I think it was 45.
4,500.
4,500 daily, average daily, but you don't know how many.
Where they went.
Yeah, where they went. You know, they might have gone to Sky Valley too. But there's a lot go up that road every day. So.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, and they're nice cars. We just need them to stop spending money because we don't have anybody who wants to buy it.
Early road help, that's low.
Just on the 441 north, water and sewer not going out there to where they have the Ruby show, gym show?
Yeah, it does, but I think they do, that's their one, they did that line themselves.
So the meter's back out there to
I don't
441.
think town ever took that line over, did they?
Yeah, because there's not even hydrants on it or nothing.
Is it water and sewer?
I think it's, I know it's water. I think there is sewer though.
I just wondered how the town, I guess the town put the meter there where they hooked on to the.
Yeah,
Does.
it's just them, no one's up to it, just for that one location.
Right, okay.
It'd be nice to have a map of all these private lines and where those are at as well.
Collect fees for
And we mentioned last week too that it might be useful to be able to overlay potential, transportation improvements, those that are on the TIP or that are projected for improvement, have kind of highway improvement plans to overlay them as well as where the existing lines are.
Yeah, I think we found that document.
Yeah, good,
That's an interesting topic.
yeah.
Yeah, DOT. That's interesting stuff.
So what about Highlands? Is there any projected commercial growth in Highlands anywhere, or something just to stay away from?
You never can tell.
They're so tight out there. I mean, the town of Highlands, I think they're pretty much got all virtually 100% covered. The outside districts, I'm not sure
I think one thing
what the plans are. It might be good to have one of their guys, Josh or somebody, come down and speak about what those plans are.
We've got about to do is maintain what's already.
I think that's what they're running into now is funding and maintaining what they've already got.
Maybe we're gonna start on a big project.
Dredging project.
Justin, are there any areas of concern on the current systems, water or sewer, in Franklin?
Um,
That may be old and gonna need
I know they've
repair.
had some,
Would it make much sense to go building some new down the road and if we can't keep, what we've got?
I know they've had some major problems with flow from the line going to Josh. So I know that's a pretty major concern, because I think they were talking about even potentially abandoning that line and let them maintain or something. There was a discussion potentially, talking to council to keep it up and, or add some flow to it. Would probably help, but, I don't know of any major concerns on the water and sewer anywhere. I mean, they, I don't have any run off hand. I know.
Did that infiltration study, would that have showed those? Would that- It would just be, it'd be really one of those.
I could probably get that next time and have it, look over a little more. I just don't know, I haven't even,
Right.
I haven't even looked at, seen it, so.
We can talk to Warren too.
Yeah. I know one of the top potential commercial areas, looking at the map, that could utilize some more water and sewer, and also the Sprites, the solid road section through there. That's got some major potential for commercial. That's gonna be your biggest commercial growth in town right now. Obviously, some of the others out 64 North, which is out, by Car City and toward the Ford dealership, which actually was in that growth zone map that Derek worked on, was in that as well. That was on the section he had as for the growth zone. So that's a potential area, because you've got all that one side, on the left side, that flat property. One day could be developed, big chunk of land.
And all that's in town, Franklin.
ETJ.
Well, that park stuff, through that Ford dealership, the Duke Power, that's all been in there, great.
Yeah.
Been in
That's
there.
the gap in between there and towns.
Does the town of Franklin or town of Highlands, I mean, they've gotta have some issues in town where those water lines are 75 years old, I think.
Yeah, there is some sections where they're still using, I know they had some back sections the other day down on the First Circle, where since roots are getting into the sewer line, clogging up the sewer, and they're having to get in there and try to bust the roots out. They just roots grow in the seals, just go right in through there and they'll clog it up. But, and of course, there is some water lines where it's that old,
Yeah.
that Tetra, yeah, some of that line is still in some places. But, you know, that was while they placed up by the hospital, that was bad. They're trying to replace that as they come to them. There's not much of that left. A lot of it's majority new lines.
Well, I remember during the bad drought a few years ago, there was an article in the paper saying that Atlanta lost 40% of their water to leakage. And, you know, if we're facing a future where water's going to be scarcer and more in demand, and Joe's saying, obviously, we need to be thinking about, you know, if Atlanta's losing 40% of their water to leakage, but would, you know, eventually like to whiskey some water from, you know, up here down that way.
Fix their water leaks, they have the water.
Fix their pipes, you know.
When I worked in Silva, we done a study there, see how much storm water was going into their sewer system. And it was unbelievable. We done a survey of the whole town, and, I mean, they're in a mess.
Yeah.
And right there on Main Street, you flush the toilet, and First Citizens, it bubbled up out the toilet in Markovia. We'll get to that point where,
Well, they done all that up years ago, put in underground street lights, so looks like they've done the water and sewer thing, put in new pipes to the building.
well, I've been gone for a while. I
No,
know
this is before I retired. They dug up Main Street for like 6 months. I thought they put in new water and sewer, but maybe they didn't. I don't know how they did it.
Just cut the pipe.
It's challenging.
West Franklin, down in there behind Lamar Sprinkles and back over those little subdivisions, have they fixed those leaks yet? Because the little branches was running sewer about 5 years ago. Had that been repaired?
I think so.
All
I haven't, I don't
those-
think they've had any complaints about it in a while. I remember it was bad there for a long time, but I don't know of any complaints or came into town for that area, so, but I can check and see.
It was running all the way in toward Ingles and
Yeah,
the little
going
park
across the
there.
ranch area.
The whole area was bad.
Have any discussion on additional water sources? Or is there any concern about-
They brought it up, and from what I've learned, is a pretty long, drawn-out process to try to get an additional water source, get it certified, approved, purchase the land, all the stuff you've got to go through. And they said if you started one tomorrow, from what Warren told me, if you want to put a new water plant at the intersection of Little Tennessee and Coal Safety, it'd take about 10 years for all your certifications and approval, everything to come in, so you'd be making water. That's how, with all the restrictions and everything there is now.
So what would the town do if we had a drought and could no longer draw out of the creek? Because it has to be, if I'm correct, there has to be a certain flow through the creek before they're allowed to draw water out of it.
Yeah, and I think their flow, even with the drought still, I mean, it has to be some substantial form now. I mean, they talk about they could just add some intakes to the RTBJ and it would withstand. They've done their studies. And I think the RTBJ is like, they're using, they've got potential for 2 million gallons, and I'm just pulling numbers from what I think, I'm not exact, but I think the RTBJ on a normal time is like 10 million is what it's putting out a day, or 20 million. I mean, it's crazy amount of numbers. So, I mean, you'd have to have some.
I think, you hear all this stuff, I believe they can add some capacity to the plant without reducing the withdrawal from the Project Creek below what the regulations allow. But, it's probably the next step where you gotta look at another source.
I think that when they were looking at the source, they found that it would be easier, they could just expand their system now and still be within limits of the creek. A lot. And it'll be a lot,
The problem, I think, the creek in the short run comes if it is real dry. That's when we start to bump up against the, taking too much, I don't know what, it takes a certain percent of the volume out at any given time, I don't know what that is.
Well, that would certainly be worth looking into if it takes 10 years to create a new water source.
Yeah.
You might want to see if you start opening up these corridors and trying to do this Franklin area here, it'd be nice to know that 20 years from now, that you had the capacity to serve all these businesses.
Wasn't there something in the comprehensive plan about that? About looking into additional water sources?
There was. But I think that's, like Justin said, it was probably an outdated recommendation now because they can hold it because we did for several years.
We think about putting a plan to take water out of Tennessee, and that doesn't appeal to you much compared to the present source, but I guess every little community across the country is doing the same thing. They're taking water out of something that was sewer upstream, 20 miles or something, I don't know. I remember this, somebody suggested, a pipeline from Manahela Lake and withdraw water from there. But how many gazillion dollars do you think that'd cost? So I think at some point we'll have to look at some alternate source, and what that's gonna be might not be what we would have thought about 20 years ago. It's gonna be Ellis.
Was the Cardigan J watershed classified as a water supply watershed?
Everything
West of the industrial park, which will kind of limit development out through there, isn't it?
past That's industrial park.
For that reason, maintain.
Eventually, private service, you want to.
Do you get out of that after you go a couple of miles beyond the intake,
No, it's that's watershed
all the way to
two,
the top of the
watershed
mountain?
through's all the way to the top of the mountain. And then the same thing, most of the time on the water.
And look all up in Brook Creek and everything, that their watershed. Balance.
So the Lexicoy is where your intake is.
A lot of that's dead, like you said.
Brook Creek, all at the north.
That's all it is.
I think it was a drawing of the watershed in the plan.
So, kind of to follow up on this, I wrote down the infiltration study, some DOT information, traffic counts, maybe how this maps overlay, the current land use, what we have or what's usable, what's not usable, commercial wise. Is there any other ideas of things we need to? I think the EDC is gonna be an important person to talk to. I think we need to know, if they're trying to promote anything in any of these areas where it's been a hindrance.
We could, we could certainly get the EDC involved. I think we could get somebody from the town hall, see what their maintenance plan is, if there's any other maintenance issues. And I can send out this thing about the extension policy.
Okay.
Do we have a map of the private sewer?
We don't have a map, we have a,
Yes.
environmental health has databases of community septic systems, and then privatized sewer systems, there's not really that many.
So like going up from 41, I mean, obviously, from state line up, come all the way down from Franklin, you come to the visitor center. And there's one I know of down through there, but I mean, there are any other ones, there's one that I think serves flow and.
Like a community septic.
Well, a community or, yeah, or that serves more than one building. Yeah, I just wondered, you've got a line coming down there, and if you had different pods, a different way of developing other than having to bring a line all the way down. If you decided that you wanted to develop down where John's place is, set up something different than this system here. If that's
The
possible.
technology's out there,
Right.
it's just a matter of thinking a little different.
Right.
Is that not a private one out on Coweta Creek where Richie Jones put that one in?
Yes, that McClure Mill,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a private system.
because it's below my house, I can hear it running in the campground.
What is it, sir? Besides the campground?
Residential houses.
Oh, so it's residential.
Condo. Not condo, man.
Okay.
I think that business across 441 South tied into it too.
The sawmill or whatever, that's what, timber project, that's how.
Any thoughts?
Can I change the subject off of water and sewer?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Depends how far off on a tangent you wanna go.
I run a Facebook check, just general people saying, what would be your number one thing that Macon County needs to address improvements on? And then number one, I guess 90% of the people was on the same subject of high-speed internet statewide.
That's one of the things. y'all-
That's one of the things we had on our list to talk about, was the high-speed internet. I think probably one way to get that map is to get with the providers and see what they'd be willing to share with us.
Well,
I think Balsa West will share what they've got, I don't know about Frontier.
I understand we're losing the business in the incubator because of the cost of the high-speed internet. He said he could move to Clarksville, Georgia and get the internet, same thing for $1,000, and Balsa West wanted $4,000 a month. And that's, he's not gonna open here after he's already rented and practically set it up.
What kind of speeds did he need?
I talked to the man that was putting it in, and evidently he needed some very fast. I'm trying to find out one of the one in Asheville, it's coming out of satellite.
Fee of $4,000.
So,
Wasn't a one-time fee of $4,000, like to get that last mile. I've heard some people talk about, you know, how much it costs to, you know, run, yeah, the hookup. Usually that's a one-time thing.
this was told, the way it was told to me, it was per month.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. Maybe three.
All right, so that's it for this one. Till next month. So we can send the information again. Right.
So, just to get my mind straight, we're gonna look at 3 people, somebody from the town, both towns, and then EDC, so.
I think
Correct.
EDC
Anybody
is
else?
important. I think if there's no interest in any development on 441 North, then, you know, what's the point of even addressing it as far as a priority? But I think if we could get some idea, you know, do we need to be looking at towards the airport? You know, that wasn't even part of today's conversation. I don't know if that's something that it's
I think
important
that
or not.
Tommy Jenkins probably.
Yeah, you could probably
Both of those could.
Yeah, the airport has some traction, I think, but you know, you've got limitations in the roads and, you know, you start to get snowballing on your rural character and things like that and how you can make, I mean, you start to get too many things to work on unless you, if somebody could operate off the 4 lane, you know, with a driveway, then you need to be looking at that maybe before you go to the airport. I don't know, it's a lot of challenges.
Maybe, but, you know, personally, if you look at the airports, you might look at school too, you know.
Well,
It might be that you
I
said.
don't know how much the school system's spent putting in that sewer system out there. I mean, it's a lot of money. But it was about, what, 25–30% of what it's gonna cost to run sewer down there.
Yeah. Other thing we talked about is natural gas, you know. Sorry again.
Showing what the natural gas is, you know. Sure you got it, but comes up.
House, like outside the city limits, is that what you're saying?
Where does it go? Well, it comes to 441.
It comes on the, like White Drive, you know, places.
Got it on the map like this and see exactly where.
I'll try to get it, if they're willing to play ball, we'll look at it.
I think they'd be glad. They're looking to
Well, they want business, and that's part of their plan.
It's on the, going south, it's on the right-hand side of 441.
It crosses down there, changing too,
For my business now, I have to poke under the highway to get to the business.
Just north of me, it's on my side. Are you tied into it? John? What's that? You tied into it? No, I'm not, but you could if you wanted to.
I've tried, but it just wasn't feasible to get under that highway.
Just money, baby.
That's why I work. I don't work, spend it.
All right, next meeting date?
I just, I'll help organize any of those people. I didn't know, Chris, if you want to line them all up for one day, give them 30 minutes each.
Yeah.
Next meeting, anyway, just let me know, I'll know.
Okay.
Very easy organization, I want to just pull it together.
All right, thanks. there anybody else that has a problem with the third Tuesday or the third Thursday, or was it just Peggy? Did everyone kind of get a chance to look at their schedules? I can't do the first Thursdays anymore.
We talked about the second Thursday or something.
They said to look at the second, third, and third, and see what work with it.
Second.
Second.
I would be able to continue
You
the
guys are good
third.
with the second Tuesday?
Yeah, I prefer the third, but I'm okay with the second.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, the time's okay. I like the earlier time.
Whatever you want to do.
That's good, you said that.
Motion for that, that's a change in the standard. We've been this third Thursday for a long time.
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of arranged their schedules around it, so.
I just won't be here for the third Thursday of the month. I stay 2 weeks in Florida since we've got a house down there now, and I come home 2 weeks to pay the bills.
Okay.
So I leave the next,
So from here on out, you won't be here for any if we do the
I
third Thursday?
probably, maybe if it gets too hot down there.
How about next week?
I like the second Tuesday because that's our commissioner meetings week, so I know I'm in town every second week.
You're on second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday, so second Thursday, I know I'm in town that week,
Okay.
no matter what.
This way it works.
At least till I know.
So we'll do the second Tuesday,
You sure?
but that'll be April 10th.
Second Tuesday or second Thursday?
Sorry, second Thursday. Oh, he wanted to switch to Tuesday.
No, that's.
No.
Oh, that's what he did want to switch to.
Second week.
Oh, the second week.
No, we meet the second week, second Tuesday. I just know I'm in town the second week.
So it's easy for you to do the second Thursday.
Stay at 4 o'clock. Correct.
So the second Thursday is the 10th.
Yeah, it'll be the 10th.
Then write that wrong day.
So is that a change in the standard meeting date then? Is that what we're gonna call that?
That's changed.
So we need that in the form of motion.
Make a motion.
I make a motion to change our meeting date to the second Thursday of the month, 4 o'clock afternoon.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Still catching all of